in our respective townships. Today I'd like to discuss a proposition that I believe can foster deeper connections with the community that we serve and elevate that visibility of the impactful work that we're undertaking here in our libraries. In an effort to further our commitment to transparency, I propose that we make our Board of Trustee packets publicly available. By sharing this information and compilation of insights and updates, we can give our community members and patrons a holistic view into the heart of our operations. In my estimation, this move will serve a number of valuable purposes. As you are aware, the board packets encompass informational materials that we, the board, receive to review and help inform our work, decisions, and ultimately our votes and action. It's more than just about our business. They also encapsulate just some of the highlights of the great work being done by staff and the dedication and diligence that goes into managing our libraries, fostering a deeper appreciation for our work. As your newly elected treasurer, I believe that financial transparency
The radical idea that learning experiences are good for humans. To me, all books are learning experiences, and therefore, the more we can provide to our community, the greater opportunities for us all to learn. That's what this board has been doing, and I thank you. I thank you for the programs like Book Bag and everything that we heard about tonight that I cannot remember to list. Thank you for your good questions at our last meeting, where you drew the public's attention to things that we did need to know and to learn about.
For reconsideration form is found deep within the bowels of the policy manual listed on the library. The citizens have been accused of not following are in fact not followed by library staff. I'd love to hear further avenues of action for the many concerned citizens to have their voices heard. Thank you.
Good evening. Again, from a pastor's viewpoint, we've been doing this for the last 9 months. You know, in 1 Timothy 5:22, Paul said not to be partakers of other men's sins or take part in the sins of others. And us being forced to pay for these books with our taxpayers' money, a lot of people does not like that. History has a way of repeating itself. The gays and the homosexuals could learn a valuable lesson from Sodom and Gomorrah. You can read it in Genesis chapter 19 if you're interested. Also in Romans chapter 1. Historians tell us there's probably 45,000 people lived in those 5 cities. If they could come back from the dead, they'd be lined up from here to Ozark getting in this meeting, screaming at you to get something done about these books. I was in a store here the other day, and a man probably 25 years old had his little daughter. I went to the restroom, and he was standing there in between the doors, and he sent his little daughter in, and she hollered back out at him, said, "Daddy, you still there?" He hollered back at her. I said, "Sir, let me ask you a question." He looked at me, and I said, "What would you do if a man dressed up like a woman followed your little daughter into that bathroom?" He looked at me and he said, "That's not going to happen." I came downstairs a couple of weeks later at a meeting at Ozark Courthouse, went to the men's restroom, and an Ozark police officer was in there. And I asked him almost the same question. I said, "Sir, what would you do if you got a phone call and some man had followed a little girl into a restroom, especially if it was a mother and she couldn't do anything about it?" He said, "Sir," he said, "I hope that never takes place here in Ozark, Missouri." You know, I want to encourage you. We've got 2 new faces here. Didn't have to be that way, but we've worked with you, tried to, for the last 9 months. And a wise person will learn from their own mistakes, but a yet wiser is going to learn from the mistakes of others. We want to encourage you, work with us. It's a bad feeling when you wake up one morning and realize you've let Satan use you to destroy lives. You don't even have to be a Christian to know that they're not good. And I just want to encourage you, work with us, because if you don't, we can soon have to leave.
Thank you. Time is up. John.
Thank you. So, as I've been attending the library board meetings for the last several months, what I'm mostly hearing is our limitations. For example, we can't implement rating systems because there isn't a nationally recognized rating system, or we don't have enough people to implement the rating system, or it's a violation of our First Amendment rights. I think there's a lot of confusion about the First Amendment. We have a Second Amendment also, but we don't let children go out and buy guns, right? So we're talking about protecting children here. It seems we cannot operate the library branches with less than 60 employees and a little over $3 million in budget. And now we purchased $2.4 million property next door in which to house library staff and which will need renovations. Apparently we can't respond back to book challenges in a timely manner or respond to sunshine requests with data in a readable format. So I'd like to talk about what are the possibilities of things we can do. Policies that will protect children from inappropriate material. We can place harmful materials outside of easy reach of young children. We can protect parental rights by letting parents decide what children see. Explicit material. Books inappropriate for children are cataloged inappropriately, and therefore they are placed within reach of vulnerable little ones. This could be partly corrected by using more traditional methods of cataloging. We're not talking about ratings, we're talking about cataloging, such as the Dewey Decimal System. The library as a resource is funded by the taxpayers. It is ludicrous that the library is operating contrary to what most citizens want. What we are looking for is the shortest path to a safe library for all patrons.
Tell patrons when they need to stop talking, when they need to stop responding. So I ask that nobody in the audience be doing that. That's not your responsibility. I don't want anyone in the audience to have that responsibility. So just wanted to put that out there. And I will end public comment if it does become an issue. Yes.
Point of order. Under Robert's Rules of Order, anybody speaking up here is addressing you, the chair, and not the body.
Yes.
Is that correct?
They should be addressing the...
You. I don't.
Express concern about the presence of books about gender ideology and sexuality in the children's and young adult sections in the libraries. Throughout the months of March and April, Lynn Morris, the Christian County Commissioner, held several town hall meetings throughout the county. Members of this designations on books doesn't make me a book banner. I'm not homophobic and I'm not transphobic. I want to make that clear. And I'm simply asking that community members' input be considered in developing age-appropriate designations for the Christian County Libraries.
With obscene or pornographic sexual content that are in the children's or young adult sections of our library. And labels are not a new concept for this library. They already exist. You can go out in the book stacks and see stickers on books with themes such as mystery, romance, Christian, sci-fi, and historical. Adding a new label, something like Parent/Guardian Review Recommended, to books with overt sexual content would be easy. All it takes is courage and fortitude. I've prepared an outline, which I'll give you for this process, and it shows a minimum investment of time and cost. And last month, we heard that there are plenty of library funds available for new projects, just in case it's needed. This sounds like a good use of these funds, and I'm happy to help with this project if you move forward.
Doing this out of the goodness of your heart and for the betterment of the community of Nixa and Christian County. I have to say, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I deal with kids and adults of all ages. Some of what I've heard tonight is discouraging because what I deal with are things such as sexual abuse that happened to minors, that happened to adults when they were minors. And I can not tell you in a single example that it happened because of a book. All of the people that I have dealt with, it happened from someone that they actually know, and there were opportunities for others to intervene, and it didn't happen. Everything that you've heard today, I think, has been ideological, and I know that you're a process-oriented board, and while I know that people have certain strong opinions and feelings about things, we are all in a community, and I think seeking to understand each other is one of the most important things that we have to do here in this community, is to understand each other. That's not going to happen if people are outraged and so angry that they cannot hear. Other friend is more about their access to guns, identifying when something has happened to them as sexual abuse, because I dealt with a girl not very long ago who's 12 who has been sexually abused by her mother for many years, did not realize that what was happening to her was sexual abuse until it was accidentally disclosed. It's heartbreaking just to hear what happens to kids from their contact with people that they know. And I would wonder how many books actually are checked out from the Christian County Library by younger children that are intended for older people. I don't know what kind of reputation.
And a mom and an educator, and I'm here to share tonight about my reading program, Book Bag, which occurred this summer in 2023, and I'm here to thank Christian County for the Christian County One Read initiative this summer. We gave out 350 hygiene kits to people who might need them. And
she's actually she's at a parent-teacher conference getting one of her kids into school. I couldn't make it to the board meeting this evening, but I have asked that this letter be read to address an ongoing concern. It has now been several months since I was made aware of sexually explicit material age-targeted to children in our local library. As of the time I'm writing this letter, the material is still on the shelves. I don't understand why nothing has been done to move this material away from little kids. At the last board meeting, two of the speakers suggested that this pornographic material was not the issue, but instead the parents are the issue, that parents should stay with their children to be sure that they don't pick up the disputed material. I would like to clear the air. I am one of these mothers, and my children are in 3 separate age groups. One child reads from the picture book section, one from the juvenile section, and the other from the young adult section. After realizing that these pornographic books reside in our library, my children have not returned. This is not a safe place for children as long as hundreds of titles residing in minor age-targeted areas of the library make it just as likely that they will pick up the equivalent of a Penthouse magazine as a piece of actual classic literature. So how am I supposed to stay with all 3 children at one time? Should we stay huddled together, keeping their eyes down to be sure they don't see the explicit material that is placed like landmines in the library? This is nonsense for children to not be safe in a publicly funded library. Sexual material in the hands of children harms them. I would like to leave you with a quote attributed to Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a pastor during the years leading up to World War II. "Silence in the face of evil is itself evil. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. God will not hold us guiltless." Bonhoeffer was one of 3,000 pastors out of the total 18,000 pastors in Germany who spoke out against Nazi interference in the German church. He ultimately gave his life for not to speak is to speak. My prayer for you is that God will change your heart and that you will choose to speak truth. Otherwise, I respectfully hope that you will resign from your position to allow someone to take your place who better reflects the values of our community. The first time I came to, well, I'm almost done. I remember listening to someone who was not here on the board. I felt patronized, lectured at, very smug and condescending, and that can't be.
Thank you.